guys. Welcome to another episode of the SAFF podcast. We are done with Game Week 34, playing Game Week 34, and moving into Game Week 35. I'm joined by Razeen. Good to have you, Razeen. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping good. It was a good game week. Last couple of weeks now, the running, enjoying it. I've broken into the 1 million, top 1 million, which is really bad, but decent considering how the season's been unfolding for me. So I'll take it.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I've been in free fall, so now it's just to stem the flow. I was in top 100K, now I'm top 160K, which is quite good still, but I think I'm in a position where there's not much I can do further. I don't know, I got the triple captain still. Probably going to play it in Game Week 36, but we'll talk about that.
Still a lot to look forward to in some of the other mini leagues and still keeping a close eye on our SAFF league to see who finishes on top there.
Yeah, so speaking of the SAFF League, our boy Mohamed Wasim has now taken the top position. So we spoke about it last week that three of them all had the same team on the wild card. So it looks like for the
Yeah.
rest of the season they're going to be quite similar. But the free hit was the big differential there, and I think Mohamed Wasim came out on top of that. It's not as if he had a crazy differential week. I think the first step is that he captained Bruno over Salah. But you, on the other hand, took quite a few risks on your free hit. Talk us through your thought process.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I'm just really, really happy that it paid off. I mean, a good 68 pointer that's in the top 300K for the game week, which was I was really happy with that. I mean, there were a few things I could have done differently. I probably shouldn't have captained Salah. I mean, I went for it because, and it might have been worth it in the end because it could have been his last game in the Premier League. That I really hope it isn't. I really hope we see him one more time. Do you think that, I mean, it's difficult to judge not knowing enough about the injury, but do you think he'll play again for Liverpool?
I think he will play again. I think the last game at Anfield, if he is fit, he'll play. I had the same thought process when I captained Salah. It was just the last time I
Yeah.
might ever captain him or own him. So I was like, I might as well do it.
I'm really sad about is that he's not going to get to play United again. Everyone knows that's his favorite fixture. And I think one more trip to Old Trafford would have really been exciting for him and would have been a great send off also, I mean, from the United fans, as funny as that sounds, but I mean, he owns
Yeah.
the place there. I think he has more goals at Old
Looking at Game Week 35, what are your thoughts on this upcoming game week now happening Friday? So deadline again Friday.
Yeah, Friday upper seven deadline. I mean, it's a nice simple game week. Everyone's playing football. I think the only building you've got to do is to 36 now if you're planning anything for that week because it is a double. It has been confirmed that City are playing Palace in that week. So I am looking to bring in some Palace players ahead of that because I do still have my bench boost left. So yeah, Palace away to Bournemouth this weekend. What do you see happening there?
Yeah, I was looking at it. It's quite so. I think like to look at it in perspective of those that wildcarded because that's been it seems like the majority. Those that wildcarded went heavy Leeds, heavy Bournemouth, and then obviously heavy City.
And
It looks
Brighton
like
as well.
the Bournemouth game is quite, and Brighton as well. Yeah, so it looks like those are what people are stuck with. And I actually like Bournemouth against Palace. I thought Palace were very off it when they played Liverpool. I thought they didn't really look like they were going to get a goal. I think Mateta and Stern Larsen, both of them didn't have much going on. Sa didn't seem like he had it in him as well. They just looked off the pace. Maybe their mind's still on Europe. So I think Bournemouth have a good chance at a victory and a clean sheet from the way I see it. But you never know today. But I'd be backing Bournemouth. I wouldn't rush to bring in Palace players this week, my personal opinion. I don't see harm in bringing in Henderson or Munoz, but anybody else, I just don't think there's any rush to bring them in. Your side, what do you
Yeah.
think?
No, I agree. I mean, if I'm advising someone, I tell them the exact same thing, hang on to your Bournemouth players if you've got them, two or three or whatever you've got, keep them and just wait until next week to stack up for the double. But just looking at it from the perspective of my team, now that I have Salah who needs to come out, I only have one transfer this week and I'm going to have one transfer next week out of the double. So I need to be very careful because I don't have any Palace players. Thankfully, I do have my three City players already. But without any Palace players in my team, if I bring in a non-Palace asset now, it's going to be very difficult to have a bench boost worthy team in terms of the players that are doubling. So I need to be careful there. I might end up just bringing in one Palace midfielder for this week and seeing what happens.
Yeah, and then who would that be? Because I think like if you're looking at the Palace midfield, I think Ismail Sarr is probably the most threat potential for goals and assists. However, we've seen Brennan Johnson be on the corners and some of the set pieces. I don't know if he's flagged. I believe he's flagged as well. So just one to look at. He's definitely more of a differential. We know he can score, and then Jeremy Pino also can get a goal. So where's like if you have to make the transfer, where are you looking?
Okay, so I seen today that the flag is gone from Johnson. He was someone I was thinking about. I think Sa is the very obvious one, but also depending on the fund situation, I think a lot of people might even consider just bringing Adam Wharton in as that fifth midfielder because he's going to probably get you your def gone. He's going to basically give you
Yeah.
a good 3 or 4 points, and then maybe he'll even get an assist or something if you're lucky. So he's an option as well. It just depends on who's going to play. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that Jefferson Lerma is going to get a start? He's been playing quite consistently, but he did miss the Liverpool game, so I'm not sure there. But when he plays, he can be a little bit explosive here and there, especially from an
I
assist
haven't I haven't
perspective.
really I haven't really seen him. I wouldn't go there like on a like now you got to remember that you're probably gonna either bench them or have them for the rest of the season. At least like I think Adam Morton's probably the safer pick, and Ismail Sarr is probably the more consistent pick over the next few game weeks. So it depends how you're going to utilize them. If you need them to play, like I think Sarr will probably get the most points for until the end of the season, whereas I think Wharton will probably be the most consistent over like you know what you're going to get with him. So, but
Yeah.
would you not like consider just looking elsewhere, not for the double
I
on
thought
the on
about
a
it. I
bench
thought about it. I
boost?
do have Palmer already. I already have Palmer. I already have Semenyo this week in my teams. Just looking at the short term, I wouldn't want United for this weekend against Liverpool. It's got to do with both bias and
Mm,
practicality, I guess. It's just you don't really want to stock up too much on Liverpool if United players when they're playing each other because you don't really know what's going to happen. Especially now, it's a bit of a tense stand. Personally, predict a draw. Probably a scoring draw is what
mm.
I have like on my mind, but you never really know where to go. So I would just avoid Bruno for this week and probably get him in again next week. And since I already have Palmer and Semenyo, Saka could be a good pick to go for. I mean, let's see if he's back in Champions League first this midweek and see how that goes for him and for them and stuff like that before spending so much on him. But given I'm going to be taking Salah out, I will have funds to spare. So it's also about what I've also been thinking a lot about is you look at the players we've all stacked up on during that wild card, right? And I think
Mm.
Leeds are safe. They're playing Burnley. So you're probably safe there if you have triple Leeds. We spoke about Bournemouth already. They're okay to keep. But then what's your thoughts on Brighton away at Newcastle this week?
So Newcastle really haven't been on it, so I'm not too concerned. Newcastle can turn up, but I think we kind of knew that when we were picking the Brighton players. So I've just gone with two Brighton players in my team, and I've benched my midfielder Minter just because he's been the lowest performing player. I think Welbeck can score,
Yeah.
and Newcastle have been leaky. I think Van Hag can get defensive contributions, and you never know, they might just keep a clean sheet. On that front, I think even if you have Verbruggen, you can. I think Darlow's better. So if you have Verbruggen and Darlow, I'd lean towards Darlow. But if you have Verbruggen, there's no harm in playing him if he's your like for instance, if you have Verbruggen and Dubravka, then I think Verbruggen trumps trumps that and play him against Newcastle. So I think Brighton are more on form, Newcastle are off form, and I think form is a big factor. We've seen it with like Morgan Gibbs White. These players that are consistently now getting points, they seem to be outperforming even if you're doubling, even if you playing a weaker opponent. I mean, Haaland played
For
Brighton,
sure.
but Morgan Gibbs White was the talk of the game week, you know. So
Yeah.
it can be it's very I think it's very much based on form, and I would back Brighton against Newcastle.
No, that makes sense. And then Gibbs White is obviously a player that a lot of people have turned to in recent weeks. Obviously, if you've got him, you keep him for that trip to Chelsea. There's a lot of uncertainty at the bridge at the moment, so I think he can exploit that. But I also feel that he's someone that if you haven't yet brought in, haven't yet made use of, then it might be a little bit late to jump onto that bandwagon. There could be some other differentials to look out for, especially with games like Wolves against Sunderland this week. Who would you look at from that one? Would you look at some Sunderland attacking options, perhaps?
I think Wolves are now a team to target. I think along with Burnley, anybody playing them could be someone that you could look at. But at the same time, Sunderland don't really have much to play for themselves. I don't think they're going to be up for it. I don't see Wolves doing too much, but I can go either way as well. I wouldn't bring in anyone from any of those teams just based on where they are in the league and the fact that their season is over.
That makes sense. I mean, I'm looking at the fixtures where there are higher stakes involved, and obviously the West Ham and Spurs games are a little bit more exciting. Those two teams really have to fight now for survival, but they both have tricky away games this weekend. I mean, West Ham are going to Brentford, Spurs are going to Villa. Would you back any of those two sides this week?
So I think if anyone, I think Spurs need the result. I think Villa got European. I guess they still fighting for Champions League, so they also got a lot to play for. But they've been inconsistent. So I think Spurs, if they show up, they can pinch the win there. West Ham against Brentford, I just think Brentford will be better. I think West Ham still leak a bit, but I would think both of them lose this weekend, to be honest, if I have to predict. I don't see any of them getting any points. I see from the relegation battle, I see Leeds, the only team coming away with points this week. I think Forest will lose as well.
If there was one fixture you could really target this week, which one do you think it would be then?
It's a tough one. I think Arsenal is the safest in terms of like if you're going to bring in a player, if you don't have Gabriel or Arsenal defender, I think that's probably the safest. I think if you want to punt it, like maybe look at Saka, depending on the Champions League squad tonight, or you could take a Gyökeres thing. And then City, I see City just destroying Everton as well. So if you're the one person who doesn't have three City players, then I think you can definitely bring in the third City player. And I think the three City players, I think most people would agree, is Nico O'Reilly, Cherki, and Haaland.
Semenyo maybe.
Based on performance and how important Cherki is proving himself to be, he's probably ahead of it now. I think if you have Semenyo, it's not a sell. Like you just keep him till the end of the season. Don't waste the transfer to swap him for Cherki. Who do you think would be like on your differential list for this week?
Oh, I think Saka is the very obvious one. I think a lot is riding on Arsenal's Champions League selection and performance tonight. Hopefully we get a game even 10% as good as last night's game with Bayern and PSG.
Yeah.
One of the best games I've seen in a very, very long time. But yeah, I think that in that game you could really look at some differentials. I think you need to look a little bit at the City team. If you don't already have three, you can maybe sway away from the few names that we've already mentioned. If you really want to take a chance, then maybe you can actually focus on the United Liverpool game, because I feel like there will be a lot of differentials on offer there because a lot of people will just steer clear. But if you want to take a chance on Alexander Isak, maybe a Mateus Cunha, who's probably going to be back for the weekend if he is. And yeah, there's always that. You never really know what can happen in those games. But if you have a strong feeling about which way it's going to go and what's going to happen, then you could always just take a chance.
The other differential game that a lot of people might have players already is the Villa Spurs game. I think if Villa turn up, they can be in on the points. We've seen Watkins, Rodgers in on points, but so that's where I look at my differentials. I think I would still say João Pedro and Cole Palmer. A lot of people are selling them. I would hold on to them.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell them this week. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then
I think Igor Thiago maybe.
Yeah,
do you think he could have one more good haul before the end of the season?
I'm not too sure. I haven't seen a lot of Brentford. He wasn't that great against United, so
yeah, he wasn't. I watched that game. I mean, Brentford showed a lot of fighting spirit, but I actually expected a little bit more from him.
I actually like the West Ham players more. Like I like Bowen, Mavropanos. We saw Thomas Suchek getting on the points as well, but I'd stick with Bowen and Mavropanos. Like I think there's points there for West Ham as well.
Yeah, I want to ask your prediction for United Liverpool.
I think United win. I just think United win. What did you think about the Liverpool performance against Palace?
I don't know. I just felt like we were really good at parts, but I just feel like things also went against us a little bit, man. It just like that goal that they scored was very, very harsh. I mean, maybe it's within the rules of the game or whatever, but very, very, very harsh. Very difficult to accept and to take in. If something like that doesn't happen, then, you could really just go on to score a third and a fourth quite easily. So it disrupts the momentum of it. So you don't really know what sort of game you're going to get. But I think that the players are starting to listen to the manager a little bit more. They still believe in this process and they trust this process, and you can see that there's a lot of desire still within that team, and I think that's a major plus point for us. So I really see us going to Old Trafford with a lot of fight in us. I don't see us just going there and collapsing.
Yeah. I just feel like when Liverpool play, it's there's a lot more individuals than teamwork. I just feel like they're not click.
I'm not predicting a big Liverpool win or anything. I still feel we're
Mm.
going to get a draw with lots of goals. That's my prediction. But deep down, I feel like if we can get a win, it would really, really be big, and I would really, really be delighted.
Yeah, I find it hard to see us winning. Like it's gonna have to be again like the reliance falls on individual performances. That's my personal opinion. If we win the game, I think you'll see like a player like Wirtz have a really good game. Well, whether or Gravenberch like have a really good game, or even Van Dijk have a really good game. That those are
Or
like
maybe just
probably
a
the three
moment of
players.
magic, a Soboslai free kick or something.
Yeah, maybe. The problem is I feel like we concede too many chances, and I think United will pounce on that. Like I don't see Brian and Bramo, Cunha and Fernandez, Casemiro's been on the goals. I don't see them giving up too many opportunities if it falls on their plate. If you remember, the only time like the Szoboszlai magic worked was against Arsenal because they couldn't finish.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think if you're coming up against a team that's going to finish, you can't give up the chances. That's where we are. Arsenal never gave us the chances. We relied on magic to make that happen. And Arsenal, that's their strength. They very solid defensively. We seem to it's either going to outscore or we're going to lose. So I just feel like if we do win, again, it's not going to be Liverpool beating United. It's going to be individual performances that push us through and doesn't instill confidence in a Liverpool team. But I do hope they give Slot more chance. You know I like Slot and I back Slot. I think he's the right man for the job. And I think next year, should he be still at the seat, I think he'll do a lot more right than he did this year.
No, fingers crossed. And fingers crossed they prove us wrong this weekend first, one game at a time. We need that European finish, Champions League finish. And yeah, let's see how the season closes off.
So to end the podcast, I think we just go back to last fan standing, even though we are all out. But maybe just a prediction, who would be your safe pick? Maybe we'll go over two or three picks just in case someone has already utilized those teams. And I think if you've been backing Burnley, Mount seems tactic that he never followed. I think again, go against Burnley and you can pick Leeds. And if you have done that theory, you are already still in the game.
Crazy.
But anybody else you'd be looking at?
Yeah, I think Sunderland maybe against Wolves could be a good
Yeah.
one. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was a draw, to be honest. But I think it's fairly safe. But I think Arsenal, I mean, if you still have Arsenal left, just go for it now. They're playing first before City this weekend, and they know that they need to keep that pressure on. I don't know what's going to happen in the Champions League to them, but I still think that that Fulham game is huge for them, and I think that they are going to take the win, especially since they're playing at home.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay. Let's leave it as at that for this week. We'll catch up again next week. But just remember, deadline's Friday. I've already set my team, so I'm hoping you've done too.
Take it easy. Cheers, guys.